Welcome to our new trend, folks. We are going to have several lessons, one at a time, on how we can become what is known as a warrior of compassion. Most of the lessons can be found in a book called On Being Love's Warrior by Kendall Ronan. They're here for every person who wants to learn how to become the type of person who can work in the world, do good in the world, fight for justice and against injustice without having to become a monster in order to do so. Yes, folks, there is a such thing as being woke that goes beyond what the narrow-minded far right has tried to reframe it as. There is a tendency in this world for the far right and the oppressors to take over words that people use to liberate each other with and to make it negative so that the good people, the liberators, will give up that word and go off alone trying to figure out a new way to communicate. They do the same with political parties, as we can see with the Republican Party, how it's been destroyed, and the Democratic Party. They do the same with countries, religions, philosophies, educational institutions. They were all taken from beautiful, creative people who have wanted to create something in the world to make the world better for people and made into something that supports the hierarchy and makes it worse. And so as a warrior of compassions, you will see how this works and learn how to break through to the truth. I'm going to just read a little bit of the book, the introduction, and we'll be having lessons coming up in the future. It says this: you can reclaim your own life while living in the midst of a world that often tells us we're hopeless, helpless, and powerless, while it is telling us at the same time that we can be anything that we would like. Somewhere deep down in our hearts, if we are wise, we often know that we can never be good enough for everybody. Success in the world's way still won't make us good enough, and we won't measure up to this society's expectations unless we become rich and or famous, and then we will still be criticized by someone higher up on the ladder. That is why it is necessary for us to begin to accept ourselves as we are right now and work to heal our own self-image. By partaking of the lessons that will be coming up, you can become a healing agent for yourself, your family, your community, and a world that is split right down the middle. The split that I'm referring to is actually only a perceived split. The perceived split is one between spirit, spirituality, and matter, mind, and body, heart, and head. This split, however, is a very unnatural split that has been created over time because of fear of the unknown and the need to be able to explain how the universe works so that everything can be controlled. Become a warrior of compassion. You'll step out of the madness. You'll be able to hear the truth and to heal the tear in the fabric of our thinking and help humanity re-enter the evolutionary process in order to become a higher and more adaptable species. In order to begin to heal this split between science, the arts, religion, spirituality, and the either-or mentality has developed, we must firstly unseat the God dualism. The process begins as we begin to realize that dualism has its place when it comes to the control and manipulation of various objects and people It, however, contributes little when it comes to dealing with the relationships and working to heal this broken world and all of our broken relationships. It's time for us to reclaim our scattered parts and to reclaim our own identities rather than accept those given us in a consumer driven society. It's time for us to reclaim the ancient warrior archetype and to understand the true meaning of the concept that underlies most of the religions in the world, the idea of compassion. And so our classes are an attempt to instruct those who listen and hear on the application of exercises and practices that can reawaken the warrior of compassion that dwells deep within each and every one of us. And that is the spirit that drove us to be here on this earth right now. It is not meant to take the place of a psychotherapist or counselor. It is more than lessons that come from a book. It's a way to provide those who listen and do the work with the tools and the opportunity, if they will work through each monthly lesson, to become a warrior of compassion. These teachings use wisdom literature. As with all programs, we recommend you consult with your physician before doing the physical exercises at the end of each study. All exercises do not work for all people, even though anyone can become a warrior. Now, when I speak of warrior, I am speaking of something different than a soldier. Robert Heckler gives a very good explanation in his book, In Search of the Warrior Spirit. The quote begins, "There is a certain legacy that distinguishes the warrior from war." He writes, "The sacred path of the warrior is part of an ancient moral tradition. It included Indian warriors, Krishna and Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, Homer's hero Odysseus, who outwitted his opponents rather than slaying them, the post-16th century Japanese samurai who in his finest hour administered a peaceful government while still maintaining a personal discipline and integrity through not only martial arts, but through the fine arts of calligraphy, flower arranging, and poetry. It includes American Indians who lived in harmony with the land and whose ritual wars were exercises in bravery rather than slaughter. The Shambhala warrior of the ancient Tibet who applied power, virtues, and energies to spiritual development, and Carlos Castaneda's celebrated warrior shaman, Don Juan Matus. These historical and mystic warriors found their strength in and their integrity by defeating their own inner demons. They found them by living in harmony with nature and serving their fellow human beings. I believed and still believe that if we embody the virtue of these archetypal warriors, we are acting in support of the whole planet instead of constantly fighting external enemies for petty ends. And that is the end of the quote. The warrior that Heckler speaks of in this instance is the one who brings forth life and sustains the lives of others through his or her own actions instead of destroying others mindlessly and bringing forth death. The warrior is impeccable. He or she is not just a cog in a machine that follows orders without question. He or she is a living entity who is part of the larger organism called the Earth and cosmos. He or she is connected. He or she is a self-thinker and one who feels. It is this type of warrior, the impeccable warrior, who works to make the world a more kind and beautiful place. Arian Angeles reiterates the necessity of being a true warrior. She writes, "The warrior must also understand and be aware of the causes and effects of actions taken or not taken. This capacity of attention is called responsibility, the ability to respond. The Chinese Book of Changes, the I Ching, reminds us that it is not the event that is important. It is the response to the event that is everything. Our ability to respond impeccably and with integrity to the events we create brings us into the warrior's arena. This aspect of responsibility is discipline. Discipline is the process of facing life directly and taking action without hate. The end of the quote. This means taking responsibility for our actions in a culture that tells us that we don't have power or that we are totally helpless. In some instances, we are told that it is clever to just roll with the punches. Many of our religions tell us to wait until we die and go to heaven. The media tells us to grab all that we can and that we are worthless if we do not have enough. Being a warrior of compassion means standing up for one's own belief system and one's own rights, as well as the rights of the community. It means walking in the spirit of compassion. The original meaning of compassion in the biblical sense is to do justice, love mercy, and to walk humbly with one's God in a spirit named compassion. Matthew Fox speaks of compassion as the only cure for this broken world. To be compassionate is to incorporate one's own full energies with cosmic ones into the twin task of 1. Relieving the pain of fellow creatures by way of justice making, and 2. Celebrating the existence, time, and space that all creatures share as a given from the only one who is fully compassionate. Compassion is our kinship with the universe and the universe maker. It is the action that we take because of that kinship. He speaks of compassion as a way of life, as opposed to a religion. What is the difference, he asks, between a way and a religion? I believe that a way of life or a spirituality is the living that spiritual people engage in, whereas religion is what empires need to sustain themselves. This is a new time. It is a new millennium in order to reclaim what has been lost, to reclaim the stolen stories and to reclaim the stolen words, to reclaim identities, to strengthen ourselves and to reclaim our creativities, the arts, music, and all the things that we have given up that provide us the opportunity to connect with the divine and to strengthen that small, still voice inside of us. We must become warriors and even claiming and reclaiming the word woke again is part of that. Warriors of compassion fight the true enemies, the inner enemies of fear and hatred, of anger and of self-deception, and the external enemies of mental and emotional manipulation, deception, and oppression in order to live lives of integrity and to live as the creative beings every human being is meant to be. And that's what I invite you into if you are bold enough and strong enough as you partake of the lessons that I will be putting up, about 2 each month, or maybe more. But I would suggest that you go through one study at a time, one per month, and consider what's going on, and if possible, do the exercises. Our videos are not going to look glossy and professionally made, and that's on purpose. You see, when YouTube first went up, it went up so that anybody could share their thoughts and ideas and put it on video. But like all other things, as time went on, some people got a lot of money. They got a lot of professionals to their videos. They started making them look very slick. They made them into something that people who either had a lot of skill on the computer or a lot of money could put up in order to draw our attention once again from those who were unable to do those things. These videos are put up by a normal person, and they will not be glossy, and they will not have a lot of bling. They will just be the truth as it is. We have learned too long to trust the experts, and the experts are always the ones who have the amount of money or skill it takes to take away the things from the average people, to polish them up, to make them look better, and to take them over. As a word of compassion, we seek to break this pattern and to go back to living in the truth about ourselves, the truth about the universe, and the truth about what many call God. So I welcome you on this journey. If you want to learn more about us, please visit us at www.nextstepcoaching.mysite.com, and you may even want to go to our donation page and make a donation, or to our passive income page and join up so that you can begin to create passive income for yourself and your family. Thanks for being with us. Namaste.